Hello, this is Diaz and a new author story for my channel Russian Revenge Story. Enjoy listening. By the age of 40, Vladimir had acquired a reputation as a successful businessman with a calm, confident disposition. He made no distinction between wealthy and humble workers, never let down his partners, and avoided fraudulent actions. People could trust him. Vladimir's name alone was already a guarantee of successful cooperation. And with $1 million income and a sympathetic character, he was known as an enviable bachelor. The man inherited his initial capital from his elderly father, who taught him everything, nurtured his principles, instilled taste and good manners. Vladimir missed the old man very much because his father was the only one who raised him. Vova had no other relatives. His father had passed away many years ago. Vladimir lived in prosperity. He could afford any whim, bring any idea to life. Fame went ahead of him and helped him in everything. The businessman had a multi-story mansion with a garden and a swimming pool, several apartments in the capital and cars of various types. He also had many friends, loyal and trusted. Only his personal life was not going well. Vova was once married, but after several years of marriage, a difficult divorce followed. It turned out that his wife was cheating on her man, was greedy for male attention, and could not resist when one admirer began to show it too persistently. Vladimir met his ex-wife about 15 years ago at a beauty contest. There, many girls set a goal to successfully marry a rich sugar daddy. That's where she hooked Vladimir. Who knows how many men his wife had during their marriage? She never lived up to the title of a model wife, spending money madly on trinkets, her own appearance, and tons of fashionable things. During the divorce, the woman got on her husband's nerves, tried to undermine his image, slandered him, and demanded a huge sum so that he would never hear from her again. He had to give in so that the nervous lady would calm down. Vova no longer had the strength or desire to see her for even one more day. So, his ex-wife left a void in Vladimir's heart for many years after her deception. He no longer hoped to meet his true love, the one and only one with whom he could build a strong union based on mutual respect and care. There had been many women in his life, but it had not worked out with any of them. They were not fit to be faithful wives and mothers. But the millionaire dreamed of an heir, a baby to whom he could pass on all his fortune, give way to this world, and surround him with love. One evening, when the man was returning from work, he was driving his car, when a stranger jumped out of nowhere right in front of his car and grabbed a tiny kitten sitting on the asphalt. Vladimir immediately slammed on the brakes and turned the steering wheel so as not to hit anyone. He himself did not see the animal on the road, so he did not stop. "Are you tired of living? Why are you throwing yourself under the wheels?" he screamed emotionally, feeling his body flush with fear. The girl was lying on her side, clutching a kitten in her arms. "I'm sorry," she said through her tears. "There was a kitten, and I was afraid you'd run over it. I didn't even have time to think. I threw myself right away. How are you? Are you hurt?" The man got out of the car, approaching the stranger. She was so petite and neat, but she wasn't a girl anymore, only 10 years younger than him. Her eyes were red, scared. Her voice was agitated. "Get in. I'll give you a ride before you throw yourself somewhere else." The three of us were lucky. Miraculously, there were no casualties. The girl agreed, and they drove together to the address she had indicated. They got to talking along the way. It turned out that the girl's name was Alina, and she worked in a flower shop, loved nature and interior design. So gentle, easygoing, and even kind, judging by the fact that she risked her life without thinking to save an animal from the wheels of a car. In her company, Vladimir relaxed and became more talkative, joked, and laughed. The passenger also picked up the conversation, quickly chirped something in response, and, when she remembered something funny, began to choke with laughter before telling. He did not even notice how 20 minutes flew by, like a second. It had been a long time since he felt so good just talking to someone. Maybe we'll meet sometime, sit in a cozy place, drink coffee, or have lunch, Vova suggested when he drove up to Alina's house. Sorry, I think this is unnecessary. Thanks for everything. Well then, good night. The man smiled reservedly and waited for his acquaintance to enter the entrance. The girl had sunk into Vladimir's soul. He could not come to terms with the refusal, realizing that she could become his chance for happiness for the rest of his life. It did not take him much effort to find out which flower shop she worked at. When Alina came to work the next morning, a courier met her with a huge box and asked her to sign the delivery report. She accepted the parcel in shock. She was told that it was from an admirer. In a huge beige box, tied with a red bow, lay a black evening dress made of the most delicate lace, high-heeled shoes, and a necklace with sparkling stones. Alina felt like the heroine of a romantic film. Also attached was a note in which Vladimir set the time for dinner at the most luxurious restaurant in the city. After such a gesture, a woman's heart could not resist. The date was amazing. If they had walked through the park in ordinary tracksuits and just talked, the evening would still have been remembered by both as special. Looking at them from the outside, it was not difficult to guess what kind of attraction reigned between them. The evening in a beautiful hall allowed the interlocutors to dance to live music and the singing of a soloist. After the first date, the couple could not part. Vladimir and Alina met on dozens of wonderful dates, spent every free minute together, surprised each other with gifts and previously unknown facets of character. The millionaire could not believe his happiness, that the girl was real and she was with him. Every time Alina hugged him, he was not ready to let her go. The feelings grew stronger every day, and the wedding was not long in coming. Vladimir could not miss such a girl. The groom's friends highly appreciated his choice. But one thing about the girl was disconcerting. She was reluctant to talk about her family. Her childhood and family were the most avoided topics in conversation. Friends predicted that Alina, like his first wife, was with him for the money and would fleece the man dry after the divorce. This fact did not bother Vladimir. He believed that he knew his bride well enough to trust her with his life. Therefore, the wedding ceremony took place. At first, Vladimir was happy in his marriage. Every day he happily returned home to his wife and one-year-old son Alyosha. The boy was like both his parents, good, inquisitive, and nimble. During the maternity leave, Alina quit her job, doing housework. She had a nanny as an assistant who spent most of the day with her son while the woman cleaned and cooked. She kept the home fires herself and did not trust it to strangers. In the evening, she and Alyosha were waiting for the head of the family at the set table. It seemed that everything had worked out for Vladimir the way he wanted. The couple lived together for 5 years, full of joy and understanding, and raised their son. But lately, Vladimir, who began to appear at home more often during the day, began to notice strange behavior in his wife. She was constantly leaving for some inexplicable reason. It seemed that she had just been home, and now she had disappeared. She would appear just as suddenly and immediately begin to tell something, as if making up for the time of her absence with conversation. What if she was talking to Vova like that? The millionaire resisted bad thoughts for a long time, but jealousy boiled inside him so much that he began to suspect Alina of infidelity. This had happened to him before. The signs matched. The second time, the man could no longer come to terms with thoughts of betrayal. Was he really lucky again? Then Vova turned to a private detective setting up surveillance on his wife. He reports to the employer, saying that his wife goes to a certain house on the outskirts of the city at a certain time. At the same time, the woman uses the services of the same taxi driver. The men assumed that this was in order to compromise themselves to a lesser extent. It is easier to persuade one person or force him to keep quiet than a dozen drivers around the city. Vladimir found out from that same taxi driver if he knew who lived in that house, but they could not help him. The hurt and deceived husband came up with a plan to expose his unfaithful wife. There was enough money to implement it, so the millionaire could make any wish come true. He paid the taxi driver a fee for a whole month and rented his car for a day. Vladimir had an external resemblance to the driver, so he turned to professional makeup artists to help him take on the desired look. Now he looked exactly like that taxi driver. At lunchtime, Alina called him on the phone. Vladimir picked up his wife from home in the taxi driver's car, taking her to the specified address. On the way, he did not start any unnecessary conversations with the woman, so that she would not recognize him by his voice. At the end of the trip, he dropped off the unsuspecting Alina at a small, dilapidated house, and he himself remained sitting in the stuffy car. The patience of the devoted husband, burning with jealousy, lasted only a few minutes. He could not stand the agonizing wait and burst into an unfamiliar house with the intention of catching Alina in the arms of some scoundrel and telling them both everything he thought about their dirty tricks behind his back. But what appeared before his eyes shocked Vladimir. Alina was helping a frail old woman move from her bed to a chair in order to change the dirty sheets. "Vova!" the woman cried out, not expecting to see her husband, and in a taxi driver's outfit at that. "Why are you here?" "Forgive me, for God's sake," he said, embarrassed, looking at the old woman. "I didn't know. I didn't think you'd be here." "What were you thinking then?" the wife asked, squinting, deftly making the small bed with fresh, fragrant linen. "What, did you decide to test my fidelity? Did you think I was running off to my lover regularly? How distrustful you are." His wife scolded him and kissed him on the cheek. "Granny, this is my husband, the one I'm telling you about, and since he knows everything now, we can introduce you to our Alyoshka. But you won't have any peace with him. He's such a fidget." "It's okay, dear," Grandma Vera said with difficulty. "I haven't held a child in my arms for a long time. You were the last one. This is my only relative, my grandmother on my father's side, Grandma Vera. My parents died, and she raised me alone. Forgive me for not telling you right away. I was ashamed. You're such a respectable person. You always courted me. You didn't spare money. I was afraid that if I told you about my sick grandmother, you would decide that I was a parasite and would put all my relatives on your neck. That's why I kept quiet. She used to come to visit, not often, but recently Grandma fell ill. She can hardly do anything herself. So I started going secretly, feeding her, cleaning up. What am I, some kind of monster or something? Darling, how could you hide it from me for so long? She's your family." Vladimir kissed his wife, who was bustling about the house on the temple. "Don't worry, Grandma. You won't have to sit here alone anymore. We'll take you in. We'll all live together. We're a family after all." Since then, Grandma Vera moved to a big house where she had a spacious, bright room and a nurse at her disposal. The old lady felt better surrounded by caring relatives. Alina often took her out in a stroller for a walk in the yard. Alyosha got along with Grandma and loved to sit with her on the bed, stroking the kitten his mother had saved, which had turned into a healthy cat. Vladimir never doubted his happiness again and was happy to have such a devoted wife. If you liked the story, please support me with a like. And to learn about the release of new, interesting stories, subscribe to my channel. All the best to you. Thank you for watching.